Hey, what's up? This is Alfreda's with the Urban One Podcast Network. Let me introduce you to today's sponsor, Chamberlain University. There's a pattern among successful people in any industry. They surround themselves with the right support. And in healthcare, that support starts at Chamberlain University. For over 130 years, Chamberlain has been helping nurses and healthcare professionals fulfill their calling. It's the largest nursing school in the country, offering flexible learning, real mentorship, and a network of over 160,000 professionals. Because progress isn't just about working harder. It's about having the right people in your corner. You got this, and Chamberlain has got you. Get started at chamberlain.edu.Chamberlain University. Belong to something greater. Certified to operate by Chev.
I know them, and you may know them too. There are truly remarkable individuals among us whose vibrant personalities can light up any room they enter. Their courage and magnetic presence evoke a range of emotions, from admiration to envy. This is also true for a young teen in the heart of North Little Rock, Arkansas, who has dreams of stardom fueled by her unique spirit and aspirations for a successful music career. However, a shadow falls over her story when she suddenly goes missing, leaving her family distressed as they hope for her safe return. What happens when love becomes fatal? This is the Fatal Attraction Podcast with Walking in Her Truth.
June 25th, 2020. It's a balmy Thursday morning in North Little Rock, Arkansas, a small city located just across the river from the state capital.
North Little Rock is across the river from Little Rock and has a population of about 65,000 people.
It's somewhat of a suburb of Little Rock, but with its own mayor and local government, its own entertainment district, its own school system.
At 9 a.m., while most of the city is still making their way into work, one North Little Rock couple is arriving at the police station.
That morning, the father and stepmother of a 17-year-old teenager, Brayla Stone, went to the local police department to report her missing.
Yeah, we haven't seen her since yesterday.
We've been trying to call, but she's not answering the phone.
Their daughter has not returned home from the previous night, and the parents are extremely concerned and worried.
It was unusual for her to be gone without getting in contact with anyone to let them know where she was.
No, she does stay out late sometimes, all right, but she always comes back home.
Do you know any friends in particular she might be hanging out with last night?
No.
Her parents weren't sure where she went after getting out of school, and they were terrified that something had happened to her.
Being in that situation where you cannot get in contact with your child, I would not wish that feeling upon anyone.
They had a bad feeling. They knew something was wrong.
17-year-old Brayla Stone was known for having a big personality.
Brayla always stood out. She had that larger-than-life persona.
Brayla would walk into a room and just light up the room.
Brayla was fearless, too.
When she was a teenager, Brayla came out as transgender.
She was assigned male at birth, but at a certain point, she realized this is not who I am.
While coming out wasn't easy, Brayla was determined to wear her difference boldly.
Growing up in the South, when you're an outsider, people can look at you a little different. But that didn't matter to Brayla.
She embraced her new identity, and it made her really happy that the way she looked on the outside now reflected the way she felt on the inside.
For Brayla, being trans was more than an outward expression of her gender identity. It was walking in her truth.
For a 17-year-old to do this, it shows that Brayla was a very courageous young woman.
And she remained courageous even in the face of adversity.
Not everyone accepted her transition. For certain people in her life, it was something they had a really hard time coming to terms with.
Even though she struggled for acceptance, Brayla never questioned her decision. She knew she was meant to live as a woman.
At the end of the day, though, Brayla was still a regular teenager.
She loved fashion, she loved hanging out with her friends, and she especially loved music.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Brayla.
She would be online on all of social media. That was her big thing.
Her dream was to be a singer, and as she began to express herself more and more, and she built up her confidence, her audience grew along with her. Before you know it, she had over 5,000 followers.
She had plans to actually pursue her dreams as an artist.
Just like any other 17-year-old, she had big dreams. She wanted to see her name in lights.
But fame wasn't the only thing that Brayla was interested in.
Brayla wanted to experience life as any other teenager. She wanted a social life. She wanted a dating life.
Brayla had this desire to be in love, not as a trans woman, but as a woman.
Teenage years are challenging enough with trying to find your identity. And for a trans adolescent and teenager, it could be even more difficult.
When your gender is different from the sex that you are assigned, that's a lot for a 17-year-old to deal with.
There were some heartbreaks.
And in Brayla's case, it was even more rejection because there were so many sides to Brayla that people didn't understand.
But she refused to stop putting herself out there.
She went after what she wanted, and she believed she could have it, in spite of the rejection.
And when Brayla met fellow high school student Trayvon Miller, it seemed like she finally found someone who accepted her for who she really was.
Hey.
Hey.
I've been watching your videos.
Wow, really?
Yeah, you're really talented.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. What you?
There was something about Trayvon Miller that really hit hard with Brayla.
She and Trey had so much in common. They really bonded over their shared love for music.
Yeah, I actually make beats.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I make beats and...
Maybe you can make me some.
Yeah, I'll make you some, for sure.
This was one person that she felt like she could be herself around. She didn't have to have a facade.
He came from a tougher neighborhood and had a reputation for being a little bit of a bad boy.
He had some rough spots about him, but she accepted him, flaws and all.
In fact, in Brayla's eyes, Trey's rough past made him that much more appealing.
This was someone who had been misunderstood at times, just like she had been.
He was strong. He wasn't going to let anyone mess with her.
For her being in this society, being able to find someone that could protect her definitely becomes appealing.
Although she was only 17, she could see a future with her and Trayvon together.
But now, before her future can even begin, Brayla has mysteriously disappeared.
She doesn't come home, and the parents are extremely concerned and worried because it's just not like their daughter.
When the missing persons report is handed over to detectives, they waste no time trying to track Brayla down.
They started reaching out to all the hospitals and jails in the area.
They put out APBs.
Authorities throughout the entire Little Rock metro area were notified.
Law enforcement even appeals to the community for help.
They do a press conference announcing her disappearance and asking for any information.
But when a tip finally comes in, it's the last thing anyone wants to hear.
On June 25th in Sherwood, Arkansas, there was a 911 call that came through.
There was a body found.
There is blood. It doesn't look good.
Stay tuned for more of the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
Hey all, I'm Jamie Lynn Sigler, a mom, actor, and advocate. I know how overwhelming it can be trying to decide which treatment is right for you. I've been there. But you should know you're not alone. You can do this. Start with some research, talk to the community, and most importantly, don't be afraid to ask your doctor questions. You might find results that speak for themselves. That's how I landed on Kesimpta. Ask your doctor if Kesimpta, ofatumumab, could be right for you. You can check out the details at kisimta.com.
Hey, what's up? This is Alfreda's with the Urban One Podcast Network. Let me introduce you to today's sponsor, Chamberlain University. There's a pattern among successful people in any industry. They surround themselves with the right support. And in healthcare, that support starts at Chamberlain University. For over 130 years, Chamberlain has been helping nurses and healthcare professionals fulfill their calling. It's the largest nursing school in the country, offering flexible learning, real mentorship, and a network of over 160,000 professionals. Because progress isn't just about working harder. It's about having the right people in your corner. You got this, and Chamberlain has got you. Get started at chamberlain.edu.Chamberlain University. Belong to something greater. Certified to operate by Chev.
17-year-old Brayla Stone was growing into a confident young trans woman with plans to take on the world.
Brayla loved life. And a lot of people love Brayla as well for her vibrant personality.
Brayla was into fashion, into music. She had big dreams.
She'd also been swept off her feet by a handsome classmate named Trayvon Miller.
It was love at first sight. She found someone who loved her for who she was, not for who she had to pretend to be.
Brayla had high hopes for the relationship.
She could see a future with her and Trayvon together.
But now, just hours after Brayla's parents reported her missing, a body has been discovered in the North Little Rock suburb of Sherwood, Arkansas.
On June 25th, 2:47 p.m., police get a call about an abandoned car that's left in an area near Sherwood.
Sherwood 911, what's the address emergency? I'm on the walking trail behind my house, and there's a car parked here.
It's a nice, quiet subdivision. So to see that abandoned car there was an issue for the neighbors.
But that's not what prompted this neighbor to call 911.
The caller said there was someone inside the vehicle who appeared to be experiencing some kind of emergency.
There's a black woman in there. She's clumped down on the passenger side. There's blood in there, and she ain't moving. There is blood. It don't look good.
Police quickly respond to the scene.
What stood out the most for the detectives was an overwhelming smell of bleach.
It was almost sickening to the stomach.
The driver's side window was shattered, so they were able to get into the car to get a closer look at the victim.
It looked like the woman had been sitting on the driver's side and had slumped over into the passenger side.
From the appearance of the body, they knew right away she was not alive.
They also knew their victim was 17-year-old Brayla Stone.
She matched the description of Brayla.
The car was registered to Brayla's mother, and Brayla's ID was also found inside the vehicle.
There's no question how she died either.
They immediately knew that this wasn't a drug overdose or anything like that.
It didn't appear to be a random robbery either, since her purse was still there with nothing stolen.
It looked as if Brayla had been shot at close range.
The bullet actually went through her ear to the other side and outside of the vehicle.
Based on the trajectory of the bullet, whoever pulled the trigger must have been inside the car with her.
Whoever killed Brayla had to be in the passenger seat.
And they had tried hard to cover their tracks.
They start noticing discolored areas where it looks like blood had been wiped away.
The investigators suspected the killer poured bleach everywhere to get rid of the forensic evidence.
But the killer had missed something.
Investigators found a 9mm shell casing.
The discovery gave them a potential murder weapon to look for.
And outside the vehicle, investigators get another win.
They found a spot the killer must have missed when scrubbing the car down with bleach.
The killer made sure to clean the inside of the car as to not leave any forensic evidence, but there were a set of fingerprints left on the outside of the car.
There's no guarantee the prints belong to the killer, But detectives have them documented so they can find out for sure.
It was a long shot, but the police were not going to leave any stone unturned.
Back at the station, detectives now have the difficult job of informing Brayla's parents of their tragic discovery.
They had to bring her parents down to the police station so that they could identify Miss Brayla.
It's one of the worst things a parent would even want to hear.
This is going to be the left arm. Okay, with our forearm. Okay. Yeah. This is the right forearm.
They were able to identify her body by a rose-shaped tattoo.
This is a homicide.
That's
What I believe. Okay.
Her parents couldn't imagine anyone wanting to get that close to hurting her in that kind of way.
Who would do this to Brayla? They had no clue.
For detectives, the lack of suspects is a frustrating start to their investigation.
They didn't know where to begin, and when the media picked up on this story, all of a sudden, they were under a microscope.
This particular case made not only local, but national headlines.
The fact that Brayla was trans attracted a lot of attention online.
The media automatically jumped on this.
Was it yet another hate crime?
It definitely put a heightened sense of, we gotta get this right when it comes to the police department.
And amid the flurry of online activity, a suspect will emerge.
Check this out.
They saw a social media post that made their jaws drop.
An individual said he had been paid $5,000 for the murder of Brayla Stone.
Prepare yourselves for more twists and turns that lie ahead. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next.
Hey all, I'm Jamie Lynn Sigler, a mom, actor, and advocate. I know how overwhelming it can be trying to decide which treatment is right for you. I've been there. But you should know you're not alone. You can do this. Start with some research, talk to the community, and most importantly, don't be afraid to ask your doctor questions. You might find results that speak for themselves. That's how I landed on Kesimpta. Ask your doctor if Kesimpta, ofatumumab, could be right for you. You can check out the details at kesimpta.com.
Hey, what's up? This is Alfreda's with the Urban One Podcast Network. Let me introduce you to today's sponsor, Chamberlain University. There's a pattern among successful people in any industry. They surround themselves with the right support. And in healthcare, that support starts at Chamberlain University. For over 130 years, Chamberlain has been helping nurses and healthcare professionals fulfill their calling. It's the largest nursing school in the country, offering flexible learning, real mentorship, and a network of over 160,000 professionals. Because progress isn't just about working harder. It's about having the right people in your corner. You got this, and Chamberlain has got you. Get started at chamberlain.edu.Chamberlain University. Belong to something greater. Certified to operate by Chev.
Detectives investigating the shooting death of 17-year-old Brayla Stone are struggling to figure out who would have wanted to kill the transgender teen.
They don't know who could have done this. They don't know how any of this could have happened.
But an early lead on social media may point them in the right direction.
Someone made a post saying they had been paid $5,000 to kill Brayla.
The Instagram account was named Tappin' Season.
A transgender woman with a bounty over her head? Now that's something that the investigators wanted to look further into.
Digging deeper, detectives realize that the account has made multiple posts about Brayla.
Maybe it was a social media follower, maybe it was a classmate, but there was no name on the profile or any indication of who it belonged to.
The police wanted to know who is behind these posts.
This led officers to secure a warrant for Instagram to turn over all of the information from this particular account.
When the results come in, they give detectives a name.
The account belonged to someone named Toby King.
Detectives were also able to pin Toby King's location in a rural area on the outskirts of Little Rock called Wrightsville.
On June 27th, 2 days after Brayla's murder, police pick up 18-year-old Toby King and bring him in for questioning.
Toby denies knowing Brayla. He denies even being a part of that Tapping Season account.
Tell us about Tapping Season.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, we know that isn't true.
The detectives bring in all the evidence of him actually being the person to make these posts.
We have receipts, Toby.
Every post from that account comes back to your cell phone.
Faced with the facts, Toby has no choice but to change his story.
Okay. It was supposed to be a joke.
Toby told detectives he saw a news story about the murder online.
He just made the account to troll Brayla's supporters.
He created the post for attention.
A lot of kids on social media are looking for sensationalism. They're looking for that 15 minutes of fame, no matter what it could be.
You have this powerful tool in your hand, but unfortunately, some people still utilize those platforms for hate.
But is Toby telling the truth? Detectives push him for his whereabouts on the night of Brayla's murder.
I didn't go anywhere, I swear.
Toby told the police that he was at home with his parents.
And when detectives follow up, his story appears to check out.
Toby's parents said, yes, he was here with us all night Wednesday.
They also confirmed that there was absolutely no way Toby could have committed this murder because he could not drive to the location because he did not have a car, let alone a driver's license.
You're free to go.
He was not the killer.
After releasing Toby King, detectives feel like they're back at square one. Until they get a visit from a classmate of Brayla's named Veronica Tyler.
Thank you for coming in and talk to us. Do you have any information that can help us?
Brayla had actually gotten into quite a sticky situation recently.
Veronica told detectives about how Brayla had started dating Trayvon Miller.
This was the first time detectives had heard Trey's name.
She really liked him, and he liked her.
But Veronica says Brayla had some competition.
She wasn't the only one he was with.
Trey was cheating.
He had been messing with another girl named Regina.
According to Veronica, Brayla had found out about it just 3 days before she was killed.
She was really upset.
Brayla was heartbroken. This is now a love triangle.
A love triangle that had turned violent.
They had gotten into a physical altercation.
Punches were thrown.
Did it escalate to murder?
You'll never compare to me.
Stay with us as truth finally comes to light during this intriguing yet heart-wrenching story.
Detectives in North Little Rock, Arkansas have just learned that their murder victim, 17-year-old Brayla Stone, was part of a love triangle involving her boyfriend Trayvon Miller and another classmate named Regina Cook.
Brayla's friend Veronica told police the situation was really getting out of hand.
Brayla found out that Trey was seeing Regina. She knew that Trey was not being honest about it. So Brayla decided to confront Regina.
Hey, Regina. Brayla, don't. No. You need to leave my man alone. He's not your man.
They started arguing.
He wants a real woman.
And it became physical.
Brayla, no. Get off me. I don't want to see you. Let go. You got to let go. No. You'll never compare to me. Yeah, keep walking.
Eventually, Regina left, but the issue definitely wasn't resolved.
Thank you for the information.
To detectives, it sounds like the rivalry was a ticking time bomb.
Regina immediately became a person of interest. Did she kill Brayla to eliminate her competition?
That evening, police bring Regina in for questioning.
Anything you say can be used against you in court?
Regina makes it clear that she was definitely not a fan of Brayla, but she had nothing to do with the murder.
She even told the police that Brayla was the aggressor. She said that Brayla had been harassing her ever since she found out about her and Trey.
Then she texted me and was like, basically, she's gonna beat my ass.
Could Regina have killed Brayla because of the fight? These questions are now swirling. Investigators are wondering, was this a motive?
Based on Regina's body language, the detective thinks she's hiding something.
Detectives turned up the heat in questioning.
I don't believe you're being completely forthcoming, so I want to give it to you right now, point blank. You need to tell me everything.
Under pressure, Regina's story begins to shift.
Although Regina stood strong on not having anything to do with Brayla's murder, she did express a suspicion that her boyfriend, Trey, may have had something to do with the murder.
Regina explains that Trey was deeply insecure about his relationship with Brayla.
Trey considered himself to be straight, and he was worried what people might think if they found out he was dating a trans woman.
He said he didn't know that it was a boy and stuff like that. Well, I was like, well, you know, I wouldn't look at you any different.
Trey wanted to keep his and Brayla's love affair a secret.
He's trying to protect that bad boy image he's got.
But you can't. I mean,
he's got an image without his.
Everyone has secrets, and I mean, that was just his secret.
In the days leading up to Brayla's murder, Regina says that Trey seemed especially worried about his reputation.
He was calling her over and over. He seemed distraught about the whole situation.
I kept telling him, like, so what? There's a lot of people in Little Rock that's gay.
Trey was so worked up that Regina says she was concerned for his safety.
It's kind of like sound like suicidal, so.
What do you mean by that?
Like, his life is over, like, basically like his life is over, he's like, he don't know what he's gonna do.
Despite Trey's apprehension, Regina says Brayla was pushing for them to make things public.
Brayla wanted the truth of their relationship to come out so they could be like a normal couple.
Brayla was not standing for it. She said, why not tell the world, be yourself?
You need to man up, Trey. I'm tired of this.
Damn it, Brayla, you just don't understand.
She didn't want to be hidden away like she was something to be ashamed of. And she definitely didn't want Trey out there seeing other women.
Brayla had threatened to out him if Regina continued to be in the picture.
Why can't we just keep it in private?
He doesn't want to be outed. He doesn't want people to think that he's gay.
This could ruin your life in a teenager's mind.
Regina admits that Trey had become so desperate, he started contemplating the unthinkable.
What did he say exactly?
Like, you don't have to handle her, like, you may have her come to the house. And I'm thinking, like, they was like, they gonna talk, or he was gonna talk out, like, talk to her.
Did he ever mention that he was going to kill her?
He probably did.
No problem, okay? It's now or never, okay?
Yeah, I would say he did.
Was it just something he was saying, or was it something that he was going to really follow through on?
I didn't think he was capable of thinking like that.
The detective isn't ready to take Regina's account at face value just yet. First, he asks her if she has an alibi for the night Brayla was killed.
She said she was with two friends that night and they would be able to corroborate her story.
Police contact Regina's friends, and her alibi checks out.
With Regina ruled out, detectives next decide to see if there's any truth to her pointing the finger at Trey for Brayla's murder.
They want to find out more about Trey.
And when they pull up his record, they make a shocking discovery.
Got something.
For an 18-year-old kid, Trey had a breathtaking criminal history.
His first crime stemmed when he was 14 years old.
He was charged with criminal murder.
Stay tuned for more of the Fatal Attraction podcast.
Hey all, I'm Jamie Lynn Sigler, a mom, actor, and advocate. I know how overwhelming it can be trying to decide which treatment is right for you. I've been there. But you should know you're not alone. You can do this. Start with some research, talk to the community, and most importantly, don't be afraid to ask your doctor questions. You might find results that speak for themselves. That's how I landed on Kesimpta. Ask your doctor if Kesimpta, ofatumumab, could be right for you. You can check out the details at kesimpta.com.
Hey, what's up? This is Alfreda's with the Urban One Podcast Network. Let me introduce you to today's sponsor, Chamberlain University. There's a pattern among successful people in any industry. They surround themselves with the right support. And in healthcare, that support starts at Chamberlain University. For over 130 years, Chamberlain has been helping nurses and healthcare professionals fulfill their calling. It's the largest nursing school in the country, offering flexible learning, real mentorship, and a network of over 160,000 professionals. Because progress isn't just about working harder. It's about having the right people in your corner. You got this, and Chamberlain has got you. Get started at chamberlain.edu.Chamberlain University. Belong to something greater. Certified to operate by Chev.
North Little Rock detectives have just been told that their victim's boyfriend, Trayvon Miller, was doing all he could to keep their relationship under wraps.
When detectives sat down with Regina, she pointed the finger at Trey. She said he was ashamed of being in a relationship with a trans woman, and Brayla was threatening to expose him.
And now detectives have discovered this isn't the first time Trey has been accused of murder.
In April of 2016, Trey and one of his friends were arrested in connection to a very serious crime.
They made the decision to go and rob a young man that one of the boys was working with.
The robbery didn't go as planned.
Y'all got that weed for me, huh? You know we got it, bro.
They went and sat in the car of this young man to sell him weed.
I'm already going.
But they had no intention of actually making the sale.
Give me your money.
One of the young men shot the young boy in the neck.
Although Trey did not pull the trigger, he was involved in this crime as a juvenile.
The teenagers were arrested and charged with capital murder.
They were staring down life in prison, so Trey decided to cut a deal.
In exchange for his testimony, he was able to plead guilty for aggravated assault.
He was back on the streets in no time.
In comparing the two crimes, detectives noticed some shocking parallels.
That previous murder, the shooter is in the passenger seat, passenger turns, shoots the driver. Same scenario as with Brayla, and what's even more similar was the bleach.
Just like with Brayla's car, the prior victim's car was doused in bleach. It was a detail of the case that had never been released to the public.
The discovery has detectives more convinced than ever that Trey played a role in Brayla's death. But before they can bring him in for questioning, they receive an unexpected visit from a young woman named Riley Cobb and two of her family members.
When Riley heard what happened, she knew she needed to come forward.
Thank y'all for coming in.
Riley had been friends with Brayla for years, long before she transitioned, and still referred to Brayla as he or him.
Always been around him, known him pretty much whole life. Yeah.
Riley says that she had actually been with Brayla on June 23rd, a day before she had gone missing.
They were commiserating over the fact that Trey was cheating on her.
He acts like he's embarrassed to be seen with me.
He was calling about how he was the way that he was treating him.
About how he was treating him.
Just forget Trey. Let him and Regina have their thing.
No, I want to hear that from him.
They came up with a plan. Let's go and get the answers from Trey himself.
She and Brayla had actually gone to confront Trey about his involvement with this other young lady.
When they showed up, Riley says Trey tried to avoid them.
Trey!
I don't know if it's scared
Trey!
Trey did not want to discuss this with Brayla at the time.
But as Brayla continued to plead with him for a conversation, Riley says Trey seemed to soften.
All right, okay, calm down.
That's when Trey decided, you know what, Brayla, I'm going to answer all your questions.
Trayvon said he owed him a talk.
An arrangement was made for them to talk about it later that evening.
Come pick me up from my house at 11 p.m., okay? We'll talk then.
She thought finally she's going to get her answers to what is going on with this lover's triangle. Are you going to be with me? Are you going to be with Regina?
Riley says later that night, Brayla drove to Trey's house alone.
She talks to Brayla on the phone the whole time while she's waiting for him to show up.
He was outside his house waiting on him to come.
When Brayla saw Trey come towards the car, she said, I had to call you back. Here he comes.
I'll talk to you later.
Did he say Trayvon was getting in the car?
Yeah, and that's the end of
At what time was that?
like around 11, 20 something.
But according to Riley, when she tried to call Brayla later that night, she couldn't get through.
She wanted to check on her friend, but Brayla wasn't answering.
Yeah, nothing was going through.
When you called, did it go straight to voicemail or just...
It was ringing, but nothing.
She called over and over and over again, but Brayla never picked up.
I just never heard from him again.
Stay with us as truth finally comes to light during this intriguing yet heart-wrenching story.
Detectives in North Little Rock, Arkansas, believe that Trayvon Miller murdered his 17-year-old girlfriend, Brayla Stone, after she threatened to expose their relationship.
Brayla was a transgender female, and Trey seemed to be afraid of how his relationship with her would be perceived if it got out.
Damn it, Brayla, you just don't understand.
He presented himself as a straight male and didn't want to be confronted with the fact that his sexuality may have been more complex than that.
Police were convinced Trey killed Brayla. They just needed proof.
Now a new witness has revealed that Brayla went to confront Trey over their relationship on the night she died.
That was the last time that anyone would hear from Brayla again.
It finally places Trey right in the car with Brayla.
It was more than enough to go and pick him up and have him charged with murder.
Arkansas police arrest Trey at his parents' house.
He was taken into custody without incident.
Tell us what happened, Trey. How did things go so bad?
Trey refused to talk. He declined to offer any answers.
Trey is no stranger to crime. He knew it's time to lawyer up, and that's exactly what he did.
I have nothing to say to y'all. Give me my attorney.
Without a confession, the investigators aren't sure if their case is strong enough to convince a jury.
Everything was circumstantial, so they got to work trying to fill in the gaps.
They got a warrant to go to his home where he lived with his parents.
A search of Trey's room provides investigators with the physical evidence they need.
Officers did not find any murder weapon, but they did find plenty of ammunition.
A 9mm case of ammunition was found
that fit the murder weapon.
And another key piece of evidence arrives when police receive a report from the crime lab.
At the crime scene, CSI had managed to pull a fresh set of prints from the hood of Brayla's car.
Trey's fingerprints come back as a match.
Charged with capital murder again, Trey now faces the possibility of the death penalty.
At this point, the detectives and the prosecutors thought they knew exactly what happened between him and Brayla.
Regina and Trey and Brayla had a lover's triangle that was coming to a head.
She was threatening that if Trey didn't cut things off with Regina, she would expose their relationship to the world.
Trey wanted to keep their love affair a secret.
Calm down. He didn't want this side of himself put out into the world.
He's thinking in his mind that there's no way that he can be gay or no way that he can be dating a trans woman because that is completely unacceptable in Trey's world. So he begins to think about what can be done to prevent the outing to happen.
On the night of June 24th, 2020, Trey lured Brayla to his house under the guise of talking about their relationship.
Trey met her outside of his parents' house.
Let's take a ride.
Brayla is thinking that now is the time that she's going to get her answers.
But Trey had other plans in mind.
They drove to a secluded area where there's a walking trail.
They go to the walking trail, and that's when Trey's plan began to unfold.
Instead of talking, it appeared that things got way out of hand.
What's their deal? I want you to stop lying to everyone about us.
If you say something, I'll...
What?
Brayla threatens to tell people that he's dating a trans woman. And that's a trigger for Trey.
He went into a panic.
He felt that killing Brayla was his only way out.
In the middle of their argument, Trey drew his gun.
Whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Trey fired the shot, point blank rage. The shot came out, splattered the blood on the window, shattered the window, killing Brayla instantly.
After that, Trey fled the scene.
Investigators believed he returned later that night with the bleach to try and wipe his fingerprints.
They also believed that he had moved Brayla's body around.
He moved her to clean inside of the vehicle.
But he couldn't stop the truth from coming out.
The prosecution had a slam dunk case against him. He was going down for this.
Realizing that there was no way that he would be able to get out of this. And with so much evidence and testimony, he made the decision to plea out.
He gets 50 years in prison.
Although the case is finally closed, the tragic loss of Brayla is still felt today.
Now we have to deal with families hurting.
No one wins. His penalty cannot bring back her life.
Brayla accepted herself, flaws and all, everything about her. Whereas Trey, he was living in fear.
Trey allowed his hidden identity to be the very thing that was downfall. The very thing that he was trying to protect is now being exposed to the whole world.
And Brayla's memory endures as a warning against the horrible dangers of hate and prejudice.
2020 and 2021 were the highest years on record for transgender deaths. Most of that was Black and Latina trans women.
That's just a sign that there's so much work that needs to be done to protect those individuals.
Transgender women have the right to be able to go through society with their hopes and dreams, just like any of us.
Brayla Stone was a vibrant individual whose light was extinguished far too soon, leaving behind an undeniable void. With her love for music and remarkable courage, Brayla lived her truth as a transgender girl, standing boldly for who she was and her beliefs, inspiring countless lives along the way. Her passion and spirit leave a lasting impact on society, touching the hearts of all who had the privilege of knowing and loving her. Brayla will be cherished and remembered, her spirit shining brightly in the memories of those she left behind. Coming up on the next episode of the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
He was on the verge of having it all.
He was a real good rapper.
He was collabing with producers and other artists. He was building a name.
And he wasn't doing it alone.
She was super supportive.
All right. Well, what you think of that?
She went to all his shows.
Until one day, the curtain came down.
He got hit by a car.
There was massive injuries.
His skull was crushed. I just was like, I don't want to hear it.
In East Chicago, Indiana, a determined father is on the brink of realizing his dreams as an aspiring rapper. Just when his promising music career begins to flourish and life starts to take a turn for the better, the unexpected strikes, threatening to disrupt his journey towards greatness. Tune in to the next episode of the Fatal Attraction Podcast. We will see you in the next episode.